Hi, my name is Rubidium. Today we are looking at grading and outputting iPhone footage to get the maximum quality from your camera. The iPhone, especially the newer version, this is the 11 Pro, is an amazing tool for gathering and capturing images. Today I want to look at how to get the best image from your iPhone and how to output that footage in a way that gives it the maximum quality.
So the first question that comes up is, should you be using the native iPhone filmmaking app camera, or should you invest in something like Filmic Pro, which allows you to capture at much higher data rates and gives you even a log opportunity? My research showed that the actual image coming off the iPhone camera itself is far superior to anything from a third party, probably because Apple is keeping a lot of the secret sauce of its camera and camera processing in-house. So other apps aren't able to access, say, the noise reduction software. My advice as of February 2020 is to stick with the Apple camera app. So here we are in Adobe Premiere, and we have a couple of different clips lined up that we can experiment on. First one is a river scene, then we have mountains, we have a waterfall, finally we have an aquarium scene with jellyfish, and the last one that's another aquarium scene at Monterey that's actually pretty dark, so we'll look at that. First thing I want to do is go over here to my color tab, and if I'm not already on it, I want to enable my scopes. Scopes represent 100% white here at the top, 0% which is black, true black here at the bottom, and then everything else is going to be in between somewhere. So I've got a couple of different ways I can go about doing this. I want to select my clip first, and then I can use my basic correction tab. What I can do with that is adjust basic exposure, the contrast in the clip. So actually this clip could use a little bit more contrast. I'm going to try and get my highlights to the point where they're not blowing out. I can turn them up or down. This is my highlights up or down. Shadows, which is obviously a great thing to turn up if you have detail in the shadows. My whites and my blacks here. So if we reset all these just by going down here and turning these all back to 0, this particular clip, it would be nice to see a little more in the shadows, but that washes out. If we come back to our clips here, we might also want to, if you're adjusting shadows, you might also want to drop our black level back down to 0. So it's like a push-pull thing. You pull up on the shadows and down on the blacks. And then anytime I want to see what that does, I can click the whole thing on and off. You also want to be careful of your color temperature. iPhone does a pretty good job with auto white balance, but you can obviously warm things up or cool things down. This might look better, a little bit warmer. And you also play with the saturation. Saturation, if you want it more buoyant and beautiful, obviously turn your saturation down if you want it to look a little bit more stark and wintry. So there's no reason why you can't, go absolutely to town on these. But if you're thinking of a stock footage clip, you want to have something that looks good but isn't too extreme, because people want to be able to use it for a variety of different circumstances. So if I make this, super blue and then desaturate it, obviously, and then push my contrast all the way up, obviously that looks more like a winterscape. You can push it the other direction, make it really summery and vibrant and vivid. The other way to do this is to use the Creative tab. And what this does is apply the native Premiere lookup tables. So Cine Space is a little bit over extreme, but you see here the Fuji Eternia. And I can again see what it's doing by clicking this on and off. It's actually giving it quite a cinematic, nice grade. If it's too extreme, I can always go back. So that one particular one has too much contrast in it. I can always dial it down or up with this tab here, the intensity, or I can combine it with the basic correction tab, leave it at 100, go back here and turn the contrast down so that we still get the nice colors, but we don't crush the blacks. That is a really nice way to get iPhone footage looking good. You of course can play with the curves and your secondaries. It is also sometimes a good idea to add a vignette. If I pull this down, right, you'll see the corners of the thing start to get a little bit darker, and then feather it a little bit. You'll see that just pulls the person's eye to the center of the frame. So let's try what we learned on this next clip here. bringing back my scopes a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to just skip the basic correction, go over to creative, and I'm also able to scroll through them here, seeing a preview, and then if I want to apply it, I just click on the thing itself. And again, I like the colors, a little bit too much in the blacks and the shadows and the contrast, so I'm just going to dial my contrast down a little in my basic tab. Still getting a nice cinematic grade, and then I think it might be just a little too red here, so keep the blue in the sky. And then a vignette, like I said, always works great to fix the eye to the center position. If I wanted to, I could copy this clip, and on my next clip just hit paste attributes, select lumetri, and now it's going to paste this. And actually this looks better on this clip than it did on the one before. And you can I can raise my black point up here, as you see here on the waveform. There's still something that is true black, which is always good to do, but it's just not seeing as crushed and as hidden as this one. It's not getting quite into the milky blacks. Or I can turn the entire lumetri thing off here by going to effect controls and clicking my effect on and off. This jellyfish shot of Monterey is absolutely great. I mean, it already looks graded. Let's see what the creative effect is going to do. Probably just make it too much. Yeah, it's going to crush it to the point where you're missing detail. So in that case, leave it as it is. Maybe go your basic correction, just add a little bit of contrast, add some saturation if you want to, and output it like that. With clips like this is the big tank at Monterey. You may not be able to see it from this capture, but it is pretty grainy and pretty dark, just because the sensor of the iPhone is so small. There's not a lot of light hitting it. So even with the new iPhone 11 Pro, you get down to an f1.8, there still isn't a great deal of detail. So the iPhone itself is putting a lot of gain on this. There's not much I would do with this because, like I said, it's already so gainy that any effect you place is going to make it more gainy. It's going to increase it. So maybe a vignette. I think that's probably a smart place to go with that. Just to, if anything, it's going to hide some of the grain. So what do I do with these once I've got them graded the way that I like them? Basically, if I recompress, and here's my output module here. If I recompress this again as an H.264 or H.265, what I'll do is add more compression to it. So what I want to do is, instead of an H.264, do a QuickTime movie and then do a ProRes 422, not LT, not HQ, but just 422. This is a nice medium between recompressing the file in a lossy way with H.264 and having a giant ProRes 444 file that will take forever to upload. 422 is industry standard, and Shutterstock accept 422, so that's what I'm going to go with.
That was our look at shooting and outputting iPhone footage for maximum effect. With such a great camera in your pocket, there's no excuse not to go out there and get the best footage you can. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.